So I just watched Miss Marvel episode 3, and yeah, so far at least, this show is the best thing that Marvel has done since Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I actually really liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so that is saying something. And what I think I like the most about it is that it's just a more traditional superhero story. There's a person that gets powers and has to keep a secret identity. They make sacrifices to their personal lives. They have to lie to the people that they love and care about. It's very Spider-Man. And, Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel character. But Marvel doesn't often tell those stories on the big screen. All of their heroes are like these publicly known celebrities, or they're these literal god characters. And those stories can be compelling on their own, but there's just always going to be something infinitely more relatable about Peter Parker or now Kamala Khan to me. These characters that are heroes but in their private lives deal with very relatable issues. But anyways, to get to the actual show itself, in this episode we finally got to see the villains of the show. It turns out that the lady who showed up at the end of the last episode wasn't Kamala's aunt. She was a friend of her grandma's, if I'm understanding that correctly. And so Kamran isn't her cousin. I totally thought that he was her cousin in the last episode. So I guess that relationship wasn't weird. But it still is weird because that actor looks like he's a 30-year-old man, and Kamala looks like she's 16. So still weird. It still continues to be weird that relationship's still continuing forward. So stop it. And then in that flashback, on the ground of that temple or whatever, we saw the symbol of the 10 Rings organization. So as I've been speculating, and I'm sure most people have been speculating, the bracelets that Kamala has are somehow related to the 10 Rings, I'm guessing. It's also important to note that these characters are from another dimension. Like, they're not from another universe, they're from another dimension. Whatever that really means in the MCU, because is that even a multiverse thing? I don't know. But it is important to note that in Shang-Chi, his family, they also came from another dimension, right? So there's interesting things happening. Things are being connected with each other. How exactly they're being connected, I have no idea. And then the bracelets were also connected to this blue hand. They were on an arm that was blue. Don't know if that's supposed to be hinting at a specific character or something. I honestly don't know. My first thought was Apocalypse, but I don't know that they would necessarily be doing that in this show. I mean, maybe they are. Have we finally been introduced to mutants in Earth 616? I don't know, but I'm sure somebody out there has a bunch of theories as to who that is, and there's an obvious answer from the Kamala or from the Miss Marvel comics. Don't know. And then the other thing I was wondering, so are the bracelets Chinese since they were in a 10 Rings facility of some kind? Or is the 10 Rings organization more widespread than just China? I'm not sure. But speaking of heritage, I also really liked seeing the wedding processions in Pakistani culture. Seeing the way they dress and, the stuff like them saying I do 3 times is really fun and just interesting to see how different cultures do, their traditions. And then, what's really interesting about those events is just how no matter what culture you're in, there are just going to be certain things that are universal. I've been in a situation where my mom was not super happy with me, and Kamala's mom in that family get together, Kamala's mom is like, oh yes, my daughter is so nice, she would never do anything wrong, even though mom, I have done something wrong and you're clearly mad at me, but obviously they're gonna put forward the best face that they can when talking to family members or friends. And even stuff like Kamala's brother, he's about to get married and he doesn't have his finances in order. Now I'm not getting married or anything like that, but I'm not gonna get into details or anything, but I don't exactly have my life figured out at the moment. So, stuff like that is just super relatable and it's just going to happen in whatever culture. And so these have been 2 different aspects of the show, right? Kamala's personal life with her family, and then her now getting these new powers. And then In this episode, we see both of these storylines clash. At the wedding, with the bad guys coming in and being like, Kamala, you're going to help us, and we're not taking no for an answer. This is where Kamala's situation gets real. Her parents know that something is up. Bruno gets seriously hurt, seemingly, and the villain's plan is going to blow up the planet or something like that. And I saw a tweet that pointed out something really interesting. Over the course of the show, we've seen the Edgar Wright-esque VFX diminish over time, and I actually think that that has to do with just the current status of Kamala's situation, where in the beginning she's very much just able to have all these fantasies and dream about superheroes and all that stuff, but as she's gotten her powers and as she's gained more responsibility, to harken back to Spider-Man, she's not able to live in her fantasies. Her problems are real, and she needs to get real. And in this episode, there's barely any of that VFX work, but I think that might have been a creative decision, because no. She has powers. It's a real situation, and she needs to actually deal with it. Those effects were just meant to visualize her fantasies, but real life is hitting her like a truck. And we finally see people get hit in the show. There has been a lack of action scenes in this show. I've personally been totally fine with that, but it is nice to see a really good one in this episode. It was super fun and creative. I always like seeing someone that just got their powers be put in situations where they're just barely hanging on, and they're like getting through it by the skin of her teeth, and her just barely able to hold back the guys fighting her, but then kind of getting to the point where she becomes more confident with her powers and she's able to conjure the fist. It all just felt, it was all very well thought out, and the moments hit. If I had one criticism, I would say that the twist with the Djinn was probably too quick. Like, they went from, hey, can you help us, to, you're going to help us or else you will die. They went from 0 to 180 real quick. At the same time, though, like, that flip happened so quickly that it's like you barely had time to take them in as good guys anyways. And I mean, even from the beginning, it's like, something's up here. And it's like, by episode 3, it's like, you guys are going to be the bad guys. It's like, it is kind of obvious. So at the same time, I'm like kind of okay with the fact that they were just like, okay, they're bad guys. They're bad guys. Let's just get into it. So yeah, I'm really loving this show. I really hope it keeps up its momentum. I mean, at the moment, it's on track to be, the third great MCU show. I think WandaVision has been great. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier has been great. And everything after that has just been kind of swimming around in a puddle of mediocrity. I would say Moon Knight isn't as good as WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I think it's better than Loki and What If and Hawkeye. But I think Miss Marvel is on pace to be up there with WandaVision and Falcon. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the show. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think I'm overrating it? Are you mad because brown people exist? I don't know. Some people are. It's a thing. It is what it is. Let me know in the comments down below.